When I was a kid, there was a set of games that I would constantly rent from Blockbuster on a rotation, playing through the first and second game constantly on repeat. It wouldn't matter how many times I beat it, I just wanted to play it again, and in the long run, it would have saved my parents money if they would have just bought these titles for me instead of letting me rent them every week or so. Those games are Chameleon Twist 1 and Chameleon Twist 2. These tongue-based platformers are so colorful and filled with all the quirks to stay so memorable for years, and all I've ever wanted in the modern day is to either get ports of these games, HD remakes, or even a brand new third game in the series. Platformers are more in once again, and it would be just so perfect for that to happen. I have to advocate vocally on podcasts like the Spawncast for something from this series to continue on, and at least for people to play them if they never have. To be fair, they have aged, they do feel like Nintendo 64 games, but I do hope that this video serves as a curiosity peeker for anyone watching to give a glance at this duology of games from the 90s, because Chameleon Twist 1 and 2 deserved better.
Welcome back to the 25 Days of Fringe-miss, where there's going to be brand-
Wait. Double Fringe-miss.
Aw, you only thought you were gonna get 25 videos this year? Look at you. You look silly. But I'm here to fix that because I'm going to give you not only 25 videos, but I'm giving you 50 videos. I have 2 channels. That's 2 Fringe misses. Each day there'll be a brand new video on both channels for 25 days. I haven't slept in months. Enjoy the content. Or don't.
So, Chameleon Twist 1, it's a game that was developed by Japan System Supply and published by Japan System Supply, specifically for release in Japan, with Sunsoft coming in to be the publisher of the game in both North America and Europe. The game would actually then release in North America first after its development on December 9th, 1997, as the Japanese release would come out just a few days later on the 12th. It is said that this game was originally intended to release in Japan exclusively, but Sunsoft and Nintendo both felt that children outside of Japan would enjoy the title, and they were right. I was one of those children who definitely did. It was one of the many 3D platformers that were released for the Nintendo 64, in this time of 3D platforming where 3D game design was on the rise. It utilized the power that was out there to not only make a pretty cool and colorful looking game, but one with unique mechanics that make it so memorable. The first game in the series drew me in thanks to those reasons alone, and once you pop the game into your Nintendo 64, you get brought into a world in a way that's described as very Alice in Wonderland-like, as we meet the main character of Davy, a blue chameleon who ends up following a rabbit into its hole in the ground and entering into a brand new magical world, where Davy notices that he's taken on a more anthropomorphic look. Here, he begins to go on an adventure with his friends Jack, Fred, and Linda, where they must now travel throughout the 6 lands of these new mysterious worlds, traversing through Jungle Land, Ant Land, Bomb Land, Desert Land, Kids Land, and Ghost Castle. They really didn't continue the naming scheme right there, did they? As they try and find their way back home, following that same rabbit that Davy met before entering the world. The plot is simple enough, and it just captures that easygoing nature of, yeah, sure, this makes sense, because it didn't need to be more complicated than that to get into the fun. For playing the game, you get to play as, of course, Davy or the others I mentioned as well, and naturally, being chameleons, you use your tongues for a multitude of different things. They can be used as a weapon for getting across gaps and leaping onto platforms. You literally get to control the tongues, sticking it out, and then using the analog stick to control the movement, making for a really interesting way to play a platforming game and just visually weird in the best ways possible. The tongue can extend out for a bit until it reaches its full length, where it will then retract back to you unless coming in contact with whatever it can grip onto. As for the enemies in the game, you get to go all Kirby or Yoshi by swallowing an enemy, or spitting the enemies out to attack other enemies. There has to just be a genre all its own at this point about gaming characters that can do this, and it always being oddly satisfying. Your tongue in the game is really a Swiss Army knife with how much you can use it for different reasons, like being able to launch yourself up in the air and even getting momentum with this based on the direction of that movement to vault yourself to other platforms and areas in the game. It can grab onto poles as well, letting you reach and go across certain gaps in the levels. But in all fairness, the game was hit or miss with a lot of people. I happen to be one of the kids that loved playing and still do to this day, but I'll admit the game does feel like it's aged, and naturally so, it happens to the best of them. Critics at the time mostly were in the middle ground of how they felt about it, leading to okay to decent reviews for the game. The biggest thing about it though was getting used to the camera. It can be a bit wonky and even annoying at times depending on the camera angle, angle, and this would lead to many frustrating deaths in the game that feel extremely unfair because of that. When I was young and the camera angles were bad or difficult to navigate, I always saw that as part of the challenge and being intentional. For some games, it was. For others, not so much. The other problem was the game for many didn't feel worth the price, as it's an extremely short gaming experience, only needing a few hours to run through it. Even if it was only rented for me, it was rented a lot, and I would have felt justified in the price based on how many times I played through it. It's also just not that hard of a game either, with the camera angles being the one thing that can feel like the difficulty has changed. What was cool was another feature in the game allowing for a multiplayer mode which can be played with up to 4 players, offering 2 modes of play, a Battle Royale mode or a time trial mode. In Battle Royale, you and your friends would fight to be the last remaining chameleon standing on a suspended platform. It really feels like a Mario Party minigame here, and sadly, I never got to play this that much as a kid, but it's always nice to see extras like this in a game to make the full product have more to it than you'd expect. There's also the time trial mode where you are given points depending on whoever manages to stay on the platform the longest, making the chameleon who has fallen off the least the winner. Beyond this in the game, throughout your journey, you'll be able to collect these crowns, and through this you'll be able to get the boss rush mode, which is just fighting the bosses and a very easy way to get to them. But once you collect 50 crowns, you'll be able to play a game of pool or billiards, and it's not so bad, but that's really all there is. And I love the original game. It definitely has its fair share of things that can be improved upon, and that's why a little over a year later we would see the release of a sequel appropriately named Chameleon Twist 2.
This Double Fringe Miss is brought to you by Gamersubs. Why don't you hit that link down below and go over to Gamersubs, pick yourself out something nice, use code FRINGE, get 10% off.
Japan System Supply and Sunsoft were back as the game would release in Japan first, this time on Christmas Day in 1998, and then 4 months later in April of 1999 for North America. Continuing with our group of chameleon characters from the first game, along with the rabbit from that game as well, this time now bringing you up into the sky as you transform once more into the new sleek look that separates and defines both of the games from one another. As you continue on your new adventure to help find carrots for the rabbit that have been scattered across the 6 new mysterious worlds: Skyland, Carnival Land, Iceland, Great Edo Land, Toyland, and Pyramid Land. They kept the names in line that time. Compared to the last game, there were some changes made, like the main cast of chameleon characters here having new colors to them. Clearly, Davy is green now instead of blue, but chameleons can change colors, right? So little old me wasn't sitting there confused, but I wasn't playing the game for the plot or specifically these characters, so it doesn't even matter. I just like the gameplay. There's some new abilities here as well, like a parachute that would help you slowly descend downwards from higher places. Vertical pole swings were now introduced alongside the previous horizontal poles. The 6 worlds are much longer than the first, which is a vast improvement in making the game a bit longer and giving you the feeling of more to do on your playthrough. With that being said, the game is still pretty short, only being an hour or so longer than the first game. But once again, I would constantly play this game on repeat because I thought it was so fun. The main disappointment for me is the lack of the multiplayer mode. I felt it was a nice addition to the first game to just have there, but instead, there are a few mini games here, and by getting the carrots hidden throughout the levels, you'll be able to unlock them, which yes, this does bring back billiards, but there also is bowling, there's this trapeze one, and there's even a really fun number one where you test your skills in math to try and get the best possible score combination. You can also get the coins within the stage, and those will be able to get some costumes for you, so at least there was a little something extra. The improvements to the gameplay were nice, the new things that you can do were really fun, and the camera angles were not an issue like they were in the first game. Sure, there was some criticism that the game was still short and didn't continue expanding the 3D platforming genre to the levels of the other games out there at the time, and even for some on the same console, but it was a more defined game than the first. Honestly, both of these games are downright gorgeous. The second game elevates a lot of the looks to the worlds, making the colors pop even more, and I really enjoy how everything is just designed here. It's very creative and innovative, and it just really blew little old me away. These aren't the best games in the world, and for sure I have nostalgic bias towards them, but that doesn't mean I can't see their shortcomings. I still recommend them with my whole heart because they are still as fun to play today as they were back then. They are just a bit dated and can really benefit from the HD treatment to refine a few things, but if you want a short and fun experience, or I guess experiences, then both Chameleon Twist 1 and 2 are games that should be on your radar to at least try. They are more than worth giving a shot, and maybe they may leave you wanting more from the chameleon-based 3D platformer series like I do. If you have played them, please let me know in the comments what your personal thoughts are on the games, and if you have any fond memories of playing them. I've been Jordan Fringe, thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Later.